for more than 3 hours on
Is
that
it working?
character,
Yes.
because it's just too painful. But after doing Dragon Ball Z for 20 years, like sometimes when I'm doing video games, they're like, "Do you need a break?" And I'm like, "No, we've only been doing this 20 minutes, you know." And they're like, "Yeah, but you did a lot of screaming." And like the engineers are always like, "He's on Dragon Ball Z. This is nothing big." I mean, try powering up for 2 minutes. And that's painful stuff. The video game stuff, I'm not afraid of your video game. Did I answer all your questions?
Yeah.
Cool. Moving on.
Oh, when handling writer's block, what's your process of like getting through it? Like let's say you have an idea and like you have all the characters planned out, and there's a sequence of events, but at a certain point you don't know like how exactly to like reach that next point.
Well, as I said earlier, really what you need to do is figure out how it's going to end. You need to know, what do I want, how do I want to wrap this up? What's the message I want to tell at the end of this? And that's going to come from you, you know. And you're very young. I mean, you may not have some big world view, but you don't have to. You know, the ending could just be, we had a good ride on this roller coaster, right? But know how that's going to end. Think about yourself and what you want to say, and once you know how that's going to end, those characters are going to take you there. And I guarantee you that is 99% of writer's block comes from not having an ending. If you figure out the ending, which is hard, because that means you got to sit down and be creative for real. You know, I mean, creative people can create characters all day long, right? You can just sit there in a sketchbook and you can have 20 new characters in an hour, right? But the really hard creativity is getting still, focusing in on yourself, and letting your imagination take you to where you want the story to go. And believe me, it doesn't get easier. You know, it's a job. You got to sit down and do it. And to this day, I struggle with that. But I know it's not going to go anywhere until I take that time to make the effort to go there. Right? So just get into a quiet place, or whatever it takes you to be creative, and then and let your story play out in your head. Figure out where you want it to go. And if it could be the destruction of the entire planet is the ending, okay? And if you've got the destruction of the entire planet as the ending, then everything else is going to be easy, okay? Like, if I was telling that story, like right now, there would be a meteor that like crashed into the convention center, you know, and I get up and you guys, we form a band of survivors just in this room, and we're trying to gather all the supplies we can get. I send some of you over to the snack bars, and some of you up to the restaurant, just rob, pillage, whatever you got to do, and then we'll meet back here at this panel room, and then get weapons too while you're out there, you know, anything you can find to get weapons. And then we start, if anyone who doesn't join us, we kill them, okay? And as meteors are crashing to the ground all around us, you know, and we're trying to survive. Anyway, you can just easily build up until finally the meteors completely destroy the planet, and then we join souls as one entity and take off into the universe. I don't know. I'm just shooting that idea around. I'm not committed to it. I'm not. Yeah. Maybe I'll put it to paper later, but you all get credit. Okay. And what's your question?
When it comes to voice acting, we're talking about how after a while you got comfortable with Krillin and you can do the streams for a long period of time.
Yeah.
How long does it really take to get that comfortable in that character you can?
Well, actually, Krillin was pretty easy, but Usopp was a nightmare. And Mike McFarlane, who's directing One Piece at the time, he got me a video that was called The Art of Screaming. And it has to do with those punk rock guys and that kind of stuff, right? And it teaches a technique, and it's a really good technique. It's called screaming over the pencil. And you take a pencil and put it in your teeth, and you make your voice go over the pencil. And what you're doing is you're opening up a valve that allows less pain to happen, less damage. So a lot of times when I'm screaming, I'm thinking over the pencil, and it helps, and you can go a lot longer. Also, you have to warm your voice up. Anybody interested in being a voice actor? Take acting classes, okay, but also singing lessons. Even if you can't sing, you know you could never sing. Private voice lessons will stretch your voice in ways that most people cannot, and that'll put you ahead of the game. And it also will help you with the screaming. Although, a friend of mine is a voice teacher, and when I first got Usopp, she was talking about warming up. She said, "Do you warm up?" And I said, "Oh yeah, you know, I was in choir for many years." And she was like, "Okay." And well, so what's his character? And I said, "Oh, he basically talks like this." And she went, don't do that character. It's going to ruin your voice. I'm like, well, I don't care because this is my career, you know. I don't plan on being able to do this when I'm 80. I bet you when I'm 80 it'll be like this. But what a ride, you know. I mean, it's about, like football players, you can't say don't run that hard, you know. Don't run into that guy, your linebacker. Well, it might hurt yourself. Well, yeah, it's going to hurt. There's going to be some damage, but that's your career. What's your question?
With comics, do you feel like its popularity depends on whether or not it's colored or black and white?
You know, it depends, you know. I know, like, okay, I'm doing a color comic right now, and it's a complete vanity project. Nobody's reading it. It's about superheroes, and it's full color, you know, and I can't get more than 200 people to read it. But my other webcomic that was a manga style thing, and it was in black and white, I mean, I was getting like 15,000 hits a day on that thing. So it depends on what you're doing. And it's very interesting to me because I'm an old fart, so I've seen things change. Because in the old days, I used to go to conventions selling my comic books in black and white, and this is before manga was popular, and people would like flip open the page just enough to see if it was in black or white and go, ew, that's black and white, I don't read black and white. And then they would run on, you know. They'd only read color comics. But it's different today. I mean, you can get away with black and white depending on what the content of your story is, you know. Kids are very used to seeing manga in black and white, so they don't have any problem if you're drawing in a manga. Actually, you're not even in a manga style. If you're printed in a manga size in black and white, you'll probably sell more than a full color comic. Did that answer your question? Cool. What's your question?
What's your proudest moment in your career so far?
Proudest moment in my career? I was in a convention in Florida, and it was after hours, and I was walking, just walking around the swimming pool area, and this beautiful girl in the water looked at me and goes, oh, "You're Mace Hughes, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And she flashed me. Proudest moment of my life, I gotta tell you. I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. And she did it again. I was like, wow. And there was a guy in the water next to her as a friend of hers, and he was like this. And I went, "You've never seen this side of your friend before, have you?" I said, "Son, you owe me." Proudest moment, actually. I met the proud moment when my drawing career was when I met Wendy Pini, the creator of ElfQuest, and she drew. I was a fan of hers since I was like high school, and she drew pictures of Dragon Ball Z characters because she was a friend of. She loved Dragon Ball Z, so she started drawing our characters. So she didn't know I could draw, so I drew her main character, Cutter, from ElfQuest, and she hired me on the spot to draw ElfQuest. So I did 2 58-page stories for ElfQuest. And now she is drawing for Dark Horse, and she asked me to be the colorist for it. So now I'm a colorist at Dark Horse. So that was a very proud moment too. I don't know. And the voice acting though, I just started to stumble into it. You know, I did a lot of theater in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then Funimation moved to Texas and had open auditions for Dragon Ball Z. I didn't expect to get a part, you know, and he landed the role of Krillin. And Cartoon Network really liked what I did with Krillin, and they asked me if I would audition for Toonami Tom. And I ended up being the first Toonami Tom for Cartoon Network. Oh, which, by the way, I do have, let's see. These are really cool. They're kind of expensive because these are all that remain. I have the last remaining official Cartoon Network postcards. This is the first Toonami Tom when they were promoting it. They're $20, and you can only get them from me because I have the last ones. Given to me by Steve Bloom, the current Toonami Tom. They gave these to Steve. They said they're really rare, and you want them. He goes, "But that's Sonny's Tom," and so he sent them to me. So they're $20 if you guys want one. You can get one at the end of this, or catch me on my panel, other panels, or at my table, or whatever. But anyway, so to answer your question, cool. You.
Which character did you enjoy voicing the most?
I used to say Krillin, but now it's Usopp. I really love doing Usopp. And I love doing Usopp because, I mean, I thought he was just a clown, right? A cowardly clown. And yet, he has had the most emotions of any character I've ever done. I mean, there was one scene where he is beaten because they stole his money and they beat him up and everything, and he realizes because he's weak, and he's crying and angry all at the same time. And while I was recording it, I actually had tears going down my face. I was like, oh crap, that's never happened. you're my favorite character. So Usopp is now my favorite character. Who is next? Okay, you. You've had a long time to think about this. I'm going to take off 30 points if you can't come up with a question. Okay, you're getting out my mark.
Do you prefer ADR or prelay for
It's a
recording?
very good question. So glad I don't have to take 30 points off.
Yes.
I'm actually going to give you bonus points for that. Prelay. Do you guys know what prelay is? Prelay is when you just record your voice and then the animators come back later and they animate over your voice. Most video games are done that way. But what we do in anime is we dub. So it's already there. And it's very much like puppeteering because we've got to match those mouth flaps, right? But you as an actor, you're the puppet and the screen is the puppeteer. And you've got to let yourself go and be manipulated by that screen. It's a very weird thing. But I found out that a lot of voice actors, including myself, have a history of puppeteering. We're involved in puppet theaters, and it makes sense to me because that's exactly what it is. You're basically a puppet. So puppeteering is very easy. Which do I like better? You know, I used to say I like prelay better, but I've been doing anime for so long now, it's actually easier for me to animate if I see something. Because then I look at the picture and I go, I know exactly what the emotion is on this character. But it is fun doing the prelay because you get to be the first one. You get to invent the emotion of that character. And like when I was doing Explosion Man, and you guys seen Explosion Man? It's a very fun game. He's completely off the wall wacky. I just got to go nuts with it. Also with the Psychos, went completely crazy. And the crazier I got, the more they encouraged me to go more and started writing me more lines. And I just did another show recently. I can't talk about it, another game. But it was fun. And it was all prelay. I love doing that. So, I don't know. I like them both differently for different reasons. That's kind of like saying, do you like voice acting or drawing better? Because it's the same answer. I don't know. It's whatever I'm doing. If I'm doing something creative, I usually am having a good time. Writing is tough. I like writing, but it's not fun as much. Writing is tough. Wait. You? Is there someone between the two of you? I can't see.
No.
Okay, so it's you.
Sorry.
Take two.
Um,
Deet, deet, deet. I don't know if that helps. It helps me. Whenever I hear deet, 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 I have to start speaking. Like Pavlov's dog. I just start drooling. Okay. Yes.
okay. I've got a lot of stories running around my head that I want to write or draw or whatever. I've got the beginning and I've got the end. I just have no idea what to do with the middle. That's my problem.
Well, now you need what's called, simply put, it's a starting point. But it's called the call to action in writer's terms. It's whatever happens, some event that happens that sends your hero on this journey. You've got to have a trigger. Do you have the trigger?
Yes.
I don't know what you're lacking, babe. You got the trigger, you got your characters, you know where it's going.
I know where it ends. I don't know where it is in the middle.
Well, that's because you haven't wrote it yet. Sit down and write it. Start taking those characters, take a chance with them, Sit down and start writing. Don't give a shit where it's going, okay? You know the ending, just start writing and let your characters talk to you. You may find that you've got a bigger story than you thought. You may find this is a very short story. It could be just a comic strip. But sit down with those characters and let them take you. Don't be afraid to let them go. Because, you know what? It doesn't matter if you mess up. Because there is no messing up. There's just exploration. Like be a scientist. As a scientist, every mistake is just they found one way that doesn't work. So just just do it. At this point you've got just about everything you need except the climax of the story. And the climax is going to be determined by how the events of the story go on, and that's up to you. Just get into a meditative state and see where that character wants to go. Yeah.
You ever get stuck with a voice?
Like all day?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the characters that are closer to my own voice, like Lubon the Third is a little bit like my own voice, just a little more smarmy. And if I come home from doing Lupin all day, my wife goes, "Hey, Lupin today?" I'm like, "How did you know?" "Oh, right, I'm doing it now. How do I speak?" I think I talk like this. Also, if I'm around my family, who are all from Texas, and they all have real thick Texas accents like this, I mean, I'll get stuck in that for a while too. Although now it feels like I'm faking it because I haven't had one in a long time. But my sister, oh my God, I just saw her last weekend. She just got this big, thick accent. I have her read this sentence today. I use, one of the hardest things for Texans is words that rhyme with flight, okay? Like night, flight, right. We tend to say night, right, flight, you know? And so I have a warm-up exercise I do too, because that's one that I get caught on a lot. It's that I wrote. It's, if I am right, I might have to take a knife on the flight tonight. So I had my sister read that to me last week, and she goes, "If I'm right, I might have to take a knife on the flight tonight." But yeah. So yeah, you can get stuck in things. You don't really get stuck with Usopp, or Krillin even, you know. But the voices that are closer to me, I do. Like, oh, and Maze Hughes is very close to me as well. It almost is me, you know. And sometimes when I'm animated, it is. And I don't know where it begins and ends sometimes, right? And I have a daughter, so it's really weird. Yeah, you can get stuck. But also, considering the fact that when I was 14 years old, I had a real thick Texas accent as well, I don't know where I begin and end either. So this is all a put on. Who's the real Sonny? I don't know. I have no idea. And do you have a question?
Yes.
I thought you were going to stand for this. That would have been awesome. Yes! I have a question!
Let's see. With as long you've been doing Krillin on Dragon Ball Z for a long time, you know,
Yeah.
so you basically know the whole Dragon Ball Z story.
I directed a lot of it too.
And
And
you know,
wrote some of it.
that's awesome. And with video games like Dragon Ball Z Budokai and what do you...
I think we have as many video games as years we've been doing it now.
No, I'm saying, you know, I know, but what do you think of the what-if stories that they always have in these video games? How do you like them compared to the show? Do you like the idea of them doing something different with the saga?
Oh yeah, I love extras and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't have any problem with that at all. I know there was one, I think Cell absorbs Krillin and then he becomes weaker. That's insulting.
I remember that.
No, not that he has a Destructo disc, he just becomes weaker. No, I think that's great. I think it's fun. I mean, as long as you're not detracting from the main story, you know, then who cares, right? And video games are kind of set apart anyway. I mean, they're playing around with all kinds of things, you know, especially, I do Bardock as well. And Bardock is becoming a very popular video game character, you know, and they're giving him a lot more script than he ever had in the TV show. So I certainly don't mind that.
That's cool.
Yeah, all kinds of alternative timelines and stuff like that, you know, it's cool. And of course I came from an American comic book background, so I'm used to alternative timelines and things like that, so.
Cool.
Answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool. And what is your question?
How often are you mistaken for Ricky Gervais?
Ricky Gervais?
Who is that?
I don't like that at all. Not Ricky Gervais. I'm not nearly that insulting, although I do find him quite hilarious. He's quite funny. And I like his radio show. His awesome.
Podcast.
It's funny. No, but you know, the only person who ever compared me to Ricky Gervais was Chris Sabat once. Yeah. I can see it.
Good company.
Yeah, he's got bigger teeth. He's got vampire teeth.
It's British.
He's British, that's right. But they're all straight, right? They're not all over the place. So he's doing all right, you know. He's doing okay. He was great in the Golden Globes. Right, you have another question, because we have to go all the way back to the beginning. Yes? You thought you were done, didn't you? Okay, well then, I didn't realize she was really We actually went through everybody in this room. We did have some people walk out, probably because it was getting close to their question time, which can cause a lot of stress. I get that. Whoa! Wait a minute. Wait a moment. Put the camera back here on the red hair, the flaming red hair. She actually raised her hand. You have a question that's volunteered without being forced to ask. The first one tonight. What is your question? Wait. Deep, deep, deep.
How do you feel about other abridgers that